What's up, everybody? What's going on? In the house. Black people. It's nice to see all of us get together like this, but you know what? We ain't gonna never get where we got to go. Cause it ain't no unity. It ain't. Could we have unity tonight? Fellas, it's time for all of us to wake up. These are the 90s and women ain't having it. Women is like, forget a nigga. I could be a nigga. They got beepers now. I remember we was the only ones with beepers. Now they got beepers. And they use them more than us. You'll be in a club giving a girl your home number. You'll be like, yo, here go my number. Here, give me yours. She be like, here go my beeper number. Oh, give it back. Let me give you a code. Fellas, that's the worst thing you could do is take a code with that. Because you know what that's for. That's so who they know who not to call back. Word up. Every day somewhere a woman gets a beep. Beep, beep. That's Andre. Forget his ass. And some of you Andres in here. You don't believe me? After the show, go beep your girl. She'll take a while to call you back, but put in like some phony code. She'll rush to call that back, because she don't know who it is. Your code be like 70, put in like 400. She'd be like, 400? Who the hell is 4? Who the hell is 4? Yeah, somebody beat me. You be like, yeah, this is Andre. She be like, Andre, your code is 70. Call me back with your code. Pack it. Cause they ain't having it. They not have, but New York, you know, when you could go away and meet girls, but when you got back to New York, you can believe reality gonna kick in like a mother. Cause you know how women are in New York. Fellas in relationships, you know, women do not count their money. My man, you out with your woman, you know. If you got $50 and your girl got $50 together, y'all got $50. Y'all ain't right either. Y'all take a girl out, spend a certain amount of money, and figure automatically I'm entitled to a piece of that. Ladies, I tell you right now, I don't think so. Because if you got $90 in your pocket, slightest indication you getting some sex, you'll spend all that $90. You be like 45. You be like 45. Look at her, she winky. Mess around, the end of the night, you get one of them girls be like, you know, I had a nice time, Andre. Thank you. Good night. I feel like the rest of y'all. $90, I'm not going nowhere. $90, I'm throwing rocks at your window. And I'll throw them to your mother lookout. I'm throwing them rocks. I'll be like, I'm sorry, Miss Johnson, but I spent $90.
All right, peace and love, family. Welcome to another episode of Do Nots Radio, the place when I was born. This is your host, Knowledge Born Alive. We just took y'all on a brief time machine with one of the greatest comedic minds to ever touch a mic.
Bro,
He said he's the king of New York. Look, he says he's the king of New York, and I'm gonna take it. I don't get y'all get mad at me. Don't get mad at talent. Get mad at me, okay? This is our James Brown of the comedy scene. 3 decades long and counting of sacrifice, of love, of weathering the storm, and continues to bless us with the presence and the gift of laughter because laughter isn't guaranteed. Indiscriminate to the tumultuous times, indiscriminate to whatever personal challenges he might face in his life, he still provides us with the opportunity and the privilege of laughter. So it becomes my honor and privilege at this time to introduce some, present to others, a pioneer and one who continues to blaze a trail in a multifaceted way and lane. We got a father, we got a motivator, we got an inspirer, we got a snapper. We've been watching them since Uptown Comedy Club, Def Comedy Jam, and so many other facets. The man, the myth, the legend is here. New York's king of comedy talent.
What's up, my brother? What's up?
Let me add senior to that motherfucker.
Yeah, add senior because I got a youngster doing it now. Yeah, you got to put senior because my son's making his way. First of all, thank you for the intro. I've said that about myself more times than one, the James Brown analogy, because he definitely it's synonymous how he went through the whole, starting off, getting into the business side of it, still doing what we're doing on the funny side and with him on the music side, and then like James did, James passed that knowledge down too. So you have to do something for the game. It can't just be for yourself. And those of us who continue to do stuff for the game and help the generation behind us keep going forward with that knowledge that we acquired, that was a great analogy. I agree with that.
Definitely. That clip right there that I started with, I was a kid and I saw it. You understand what I'm saying? I was a kid. I was sneaking up to watch it. Back when TV went off, like TV used to go off. I tell my children, they look at me like I'm from outer space. Like TV used to go off. That was it. You could get the Home Shopping Network, and that's about it. Some infomercial or whatever it was, but TV went off. So one of the ways I knew if I saw Apollo or if I saw Uptown Comedy Club, saying you tell a wax snap, you gotta go. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like indicators that was there and we were prepared, for combat. Because where we lived, and how we came up. If you could fight, or you was an athlete, or you had one of them other skill sets, that meant absolutely nothing. If somebody seeing you from 3 blocks down,
right?
And they said, if you don't get you understand what I'm saying? If they snapped on you and you got mad, you lost the war. You see what I'm saying? You might have been able to win the battle, but you lost the war. So you had to have the skin already prepared. And the battleground, y'all created a space in the battleground with many of the things early on that aided us with something. We had professional comedians that the world never seen or ever heard of. So we were rooting and living vicariously through your greatness on the stage. That comment, that was 5 minutes. There was not a bleep, a pause. There wasn't no room for you to recover. You were just like, bow, bow. I got you with the bow, 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 bow. Cats is thinking like, am I Andre? Like, oh shit, why are you telling my secrets? Like all of the myriad of things that is happening from start to finish. Anyway, say that's my time, yo. You just dropped the mic and walked off the stage. It was like, oh my goodness.
Well, yeah, that's a thing. When you leave like that, it's a statement. And let me give you the backdrop of why I did that, because I had that statement. Couldn't have been no better statement than timing of a statement now. So that was the exact time when MC Light's Roughneck song was a hit, right? So this is the year we're talking about. Now the lineup of that show and what happened that day is it was going to be this comedian from Texas, a good friend of mine named Derek Ellis. It was Derek Ellis, comedian guest, MC Light doing 2 songs, In Talent doing comedian guest. Then Joe had just came out, so he had a hit single too. So I'm backstage now. This is the Apollo. This is the years where the boo was nerve wracking, and they were vicious. They would boo people they ain't supposed to boo. Like if they didn't care that you was a guest, So the comedian Derek goes up in front of me, and they don't know no better, so they just don't like the jokes he's doing. They boo the hell out of him, right? They boo him to smithereens. I'm on the side like, damn, it's a rough crowd today, right? So the producers go out and have to give an announcement. Say, listen, this guy's, we flew him in. It's a guest comedian. We don't boo our guests. We let them perform. It's for the TV show. So everybody's like, it's quiet. Like, all right. So we're gonna bring him back out. I'll try this again. This is Harlem, baby. This is New York. You ain't gonna tell them what they're gonna do. He came back out. They sat there for 1 second quiet, and the first line came out. They didn't approve of, and they booed him again. He was something like, "Black girls got big booties," and they went crazy and booed him again. Right? I'm on the side. I'm already can't swallow, like my nerves, my stomach. Like you're already scared because it's the Apollo. And then I kept convincing myself mentally, saying, "T, calm down. They're gonna be happy to see MC Light. You're gonna go in there after a nice, joyful time and performance." And I'm standing by the guy backstage, and his walkie-talkie goes, he goes, "All right, we're ready for MC Light." And the person comes back, said, "She's not ready. She's gonna need another 15, 20 minutes. Throw the talent guy out there." So now the dynamics have changed 1,000%. Now I'm going out to the wolves, bro. And there's no cushion in between us. Not one boo, a double boo. So they probably thinking, because if I would be thinking, like, if I'm sitting in the audience, all right, another comedian. Oh, another comedian. Oh, okay, we get to do this again. You know what I mean? So I already know they chops are wet. So I go out there. That's why I started with the, it's just comedy, unity thing. And so by the time I got them rolling, like you said, you're swinging, you ain't stopping. Don't give it a beat, don't give it a pause. It's bang, 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 bang. And when that last one hit the way it was supposed to hit, that's what that exit was. That exit was after nerve-wracking, I don't know, hour or two, whatever back there. It was so bad, bro. Real talk on my dead mother. I went out the back door, sat on the back stoop for another hour, 10 minutes. And I did good. I got a standing ovation. But you wouldn't know that if you see me sitting back there. You're like, you okay? I was really trying to catch myself and get back into my human form, if you will. But that's why that ended like that. And that was so important. And that was the beginning of the first piece of confidence I think I really had, like real original confidence.
I gotta be deep. You read stories. I saw the documentaries, Why We Laugh and things like that. And then, Bernie Mac's life and the whole situation with his family talking about the Def Jam joint kick in. You don't understand. I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. You understand? So it's like that kind of space. It's like, oh man, so you describing it in the real space. And I didn't open with this. You share a birthday with another king of New York. Right?
I do.
You and Ghostface.
No, really? Ghost is May 9th?
Yeah. You and Ghostface is May 9th.
Piece of Ghostface killer, baby.
And then you share the last name with one of my favorite comedians of all time,
Robin Harris.
Yeah, so you like the East Coast version, for me at least.
Well, we had the three amigos. We had Ricky Harris, Robin Harris, and Talent Harris.
Ooh, rest in peace.
You know what I mean? Today from Snoop Dogg style. Today.
Yes.
Rest in peace to the gods, man. Yeah. Robin Harris, he's one of those guys, dude, that definitely going too soon. He was about to be the guy. And we all loved him. He was funny. He was organic. And that's what I pride myself on, like the organic side of comedy too. Like my stuff is always going to be real based and is always real based. I sprinkle a little exaggeration here and here to make it funny, but it's always gonna be real based with real things in it, because I think that reality is the best comedy. You know, I think when you write stuff that it's like, you know, I'm a movie buff. Like when I watch TV shows and movies, I like stuff kind of reality based. You know, you could get goofy and jump over here a little bit, but give me the core of it though. Let me get the real. You know what I mean? I'll sit down and watch that all day.
Right. You said movie buff. That's my lane right there. What's some of your movies? What's some of your go-tos?
Oh,
Into the Dragon is 50 years old. You know, it turned 50 when hip hop turned 50. So Into the Dragon is 50 years old.
Into the
Deadly
Dragon
Venom is 45 years old. I said, what?
Well, go-to is like, you know, so what I like to do, if you're a movie buff, you got all these categories, right? You know, because I wouldn't put a love story up against a gangster movie and blah, blah, blah. Two different vibes. Like movies are like music. There's a soundtrack to everything that happens in the world. So movies are like that as well. My go-to, if I'm going to talk about anything with music in it, Five Heartbeats.
Yeah.
Five Heartbeats is the go-to. You just go to that. You want to talk about gangster, you go into New Jack City and Training Day. You know what I mean? Those are go-to gangster joints. You know, if you like horror flicks, you know, you got Carrie. You know what I'm saying? You got, you know, that's the Candyman. You know, the classics. I'm gonna tell you what, a sleeper with horror flicks though. Jeepers Creepers.
Oh,
yeah,
the eeriest song I ever heard in my life. It was stuck in my head, and I was just singing it randomly, like Jeepers.
Yo, to this day, if Android come on and I'm in the house and the lights out, I gotta make adjustments. I got it. Like in my house, sometimes I'm upstairs with one dog. Right? I got 5 dogs. So sometimes I'm upstairs, one dog, but my other dogs are downstairs and they own an apartment, right? So if I come in here and I sit down, I'm comfortable and all of just clicking channels and damn Jeepers Creepers come on, I'm going downstairs bringing all the dogs up to sleep with me. I'm not taking no chances. Jeepers Creepers was so scary because they knew how. I think they lost that element in horror flicks these days. They lost the suspense, scary thing, and they traded in for gore. So when you watch a horror flick now, it's all about just blood and guts and all that. And that's not scary. It's just nasty. It's just like, you know, it's not scary though. Scary is like just the little things. Like remember the old Night of the Living Dead?
Yes.
Like that was scary. Like you just black and white. You know what I mean? They just turn the corner and somebody over there. That's scary. So it's hard for these guys to make spooky movies. But yeah, I'm a movie buff. Those are go-tos.
Yeah, for the gangster movies, I had to add in Sugar Hill and Blue Hill Avenue. They had profound effects on my life. You know,
okay.
It's like because with like Sugar Hill, for instance, they win. You know, they win. It's like, all right, this is Harlem, this is Sugar Hill. You get to see the kind of decline of what happened in a cinematic fashion. But it's like the two brothers, like the brother's like, yo, I just came in for a bagel, a cup of coffee. And I was like, ooh. He was like, all right, bam. I was like, he's like, you know, I cleaned this up. So it kind of carried over in a melodramatic kind of way into Jason's lyric with the brother. But there's a brother. You see what I'm saying? There's one way or the other, you know. So it was a beautiful cinematic kind of way to see, like with the game, they addressed a bunch of things that happened within the confines of our culture, and it didn't look outside of it. Versus a lot of things that came after. And Blue Hill Avenue was kind of like a spinoff in Boston, so we didn't really know Boston streets like that unless you was in Boston streets. So it's like, okay, this is something else right here, and to see, you know, Alan Payne outside of New Jack City in a way where he gets a chance to do what he needs to do was something that was interesting too, because it was kind of like second fiddle to Wesley Snipes, you know.
And we're talking black gangster, because if you go white gangster, Goodfellas go to.
Definitely.
Goodfellas go to. Goodfellas, man. I put Goodfellas up. A lot of people always jump to The Godfather, but I'll put Goodfellas right up there with Scarface and Godfather. Goodfellas is a crazy go-to, man. And I love how it covered the span. Because a lot of these things, they, you know, even Godfather took like 3 parts to cover the span. They got it done in the one long film, The Goodfellas. And it's just parts in there when you go back, you look at it, you know, you love the characters and they made you laugh. Like Joe Pesci was out of control.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but good,
Yep.
you know, we movie buffs, so we got go-tos all day.
Yeah, Goodfellas and Casino, the narrations, I think the narrations aided in what we saw. Like there are sights and sounds that we didn't get a chance to see, like a Bronx Tale. You see what I'm saying? You get introduced to everybody through, this narration type situation. And for instance, like on the side one, like a Pulp Fiction, some of the greatest scenes of Pulp Fiction was the conversations that they were having in between. If we remember Harlem Nights, they was going up the stairs to kill Eddie Murphy, and they was talking about, this or that. You see what I'm saying? They're like, these old mobsters get out the car, like they huffing and puffing going up the stairs, and they're still having this banter to it. It's like, okay, like this is epic right here. This is epic stuff that's there. They're in the bathroom, if you remember in Pulp Fiction, after, they have to clean up, and he's like, hey, this is my friend's house. Make sure you wash your hands, blah, blah, blah. I was like, wait a minute. Like, they're having a whole conversation back and forth about, John Travolta and Samuel Jackson. Samuel Jackson is making sure that he washes his hands. And he's like, hey, he was like, so that part. And then when he went to Amsterdam and then, Royale with cheese and then, the whole situation, like these are professional hitmen having conversations about whether or not they tickle the feet during the foot massage. So it's like the backstory, the little stories that are in between, aside from the action, it makes the thing all together. So
that's crazy. That's crazy.
When did you catch the comic buzz, the Holy Ghost? Like what happened? What was the sights and the sounds? Who did you see? What did you hear? Like for you, it's like, all right.
Well, I mean, it was I caught the Holy Ghost as a kid, as a youngster. The only thing that probably took me the time it did to actually do it was because I had a different perception. My perception became my reality. I thought, at the time we're looking at the Richard Pryors, the Red Foxes, and everybody on TV. So these guys, as a youngster, they look like older men.
Right.
And it didn't dawn on me that this was their career. It looked like a hobby. Like when I seen comedians, I was like, this is some guy that's having fun with his hobby and he's good at it. I was like, I think I could do that. I think I'm supposed to do that. So when I get finished, I was into music first, rap career in Mount Vernon, New York, coming behind Heavy D. Right. And I was like, once I finish my rap, I'm doing that. That's going to be what I do for my hobby. I'm going to retire early. Back then with rap, I thought I'd be retired by 30. I'll do comedy and blah, 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 blah. And it just happened I went to a live show. I was invited by my buddy, JB Smooth, who lives in my projects. And he was hosting a comedy show. And I went and I'm just watching it. And I'm like, and I'm like, this ain't an old man's game. It's a young man's game. Like it's young Black men and women out here doing it already. And that's when I was like, you know what? I can do this now. You know what I mean? My music career was going through its legal ramifications. We were stagnant with that. And while we were sitting there figuring out what's going to happen with that, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to dive in here. Well, first I was writing for my best friend. He dove in. Then I, dove in. And I was just like, soon as I touched that stage and mic, that little 3 minutes they gave me in what they call the New Jack segment, that little 3 minutes was all it took for me to go, yeah, it's a calling. 3 minutes.
So that was a true story, because I heard that you was writing for somebody and they kept bombing with your jokes. So you tried it out yourself?
Where'd you get all that?
I gotta be careful with my research. You see what I'm saying? I was like, wait a minute.
That's exactly true. And now he's doing much better. Like, cause comedy is one of those things. Like a lot of the guys I know for 30 years, very few of them have gone straight through. Some of them have to dip out. Life happens. It could be raising kids. It could be relocating with jobs, or it could be getting incarcerated. It could be taking other business ventures. It could be so much stuff. It could be illnesses and ailments. So a lot of I would say a high percentage in the 80, 90 percentile, people dip in and out. And the dip out might not be long as others. I know a guy dipped out for, I think, 3 years, came back, and he's one of the funniest dudes I work with. Shout out to Kenny Williams. But yeah, my buddy, AD, I was like writing little things for him to go and say and whatever. And he wasn't keeping it real. Like, he was coming back, yeah, man, I crushed it. They love me, da, 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 da. And it wasn't until somebody we mutually knew from our hood went to Harlem, to the Uptown, to the real one before the TV show.
Right.
And seen him and was like, yo, came back to the hood, was like, yo, boy, tell him don't do it no more. I said, what are you talking about? Man, we about to throw tomatoes at him. He bombed, they booed him, blah, blah, blah. So then my crew was like, we approached, because we were tight knit crew. We approached him like, yo, why you tell us you killing and you got booed? Huh? What? So, you know, he's always going to lie his way out of the paperback. But we had the receipts, and he was like, whatever. So I'm saying to myself, so that was a personal challenge. Like, I was like, I know it ain't the stuff that I'm giving him, because the stuff I'm giving him is so goofy and shocking all. You gotta laugh or have a stupid reaction to it, you know. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna try this stuff myself. And I did that. And sure enough, it was working. So I'm like, it ain't the stuff. You know what I mean? But like I said, that was that 3 minutes. And when that 3 minutes was like, I'm off to the races. So he dipped away from it. You know, he didn't work on the craft for a long time or whatever, did a bunch of stuff. He's one of those guys. Came back later on, I'm gonna do it. And he used to dip and dabble in and out of it. And the past few years, this is about as serious as he's gotten about it. I mean, I'm rough, you know, I'm rough with judgment and all that, but in my book, he still can do more, but at least this is the most he's done consistently in all those years. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So 3 decades, you know, 3 decades of life, 3 decades of experience. You've been into so many places, and you still been kind of AZ of comedy. You know, AZ got the reference Quiet Money, so you've been getting quiet money for a long time. You see what I'm saying? Different decades, different spaces. I heard you say something about not the front stages, you know, developing those relationships with the side stages, and, you know, basically moving like a soul side in the game. Could you elaborate on the benefits of that career as, you know, entrepreneur, getting it, you know, not necessarily at the stadiums, but, you know, the side shows, the different places like that over the years?
Well, I think people like myself, with different individuals, and I think I credit longevity in the game to the type of person I am and how I'm, right? Meaning, a lot of people, most people, they go in this thing, like you said, money, like they go in it for the money or for whatever, for themselves or whatever. Like, but I never really looked at it like that. I always looked at it like, if I get a whole lot, that's a whole lot I can help give to other people. You know what I mean? Like, trust me with the millions, because I can disperse it and everybody can eat. You know, whereas most people are for them. You know, they're setting up shop for them and them only. I know it to be true because my life is the epitome of it, but I know it to be, I can take care of me and mine and still help you and yours. I believe that. I truthfully believe that. I'm a walking example of that. You know, I don't just take care of me and then mine. You know, I do the best I can with that. God, you know, knock on wood, God's been really good with that. But there's other people that you can help as well. While you're doing that, you can still help others and put it out there and share whatever. It could be knowledge, it could be money, it could be opportunity, it could be connections and networking. It could be so many things. It could be stages. You know, I was called the King of New York because I had the most stages for the most amount of time. You know, it was a time where, like, if I was on my grizzle like 30 years ago, nobody would have a stage. I would have all of them. And then you would go through me and da 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 da. You evolve, and with evolution, you disperse. And you, like I said, I pass that torch to people. So now this is your thing. Now you can eat. It's sort of like, you know, in the drug game, you know, a guy be like, yo, I'm gonna give you Fifth Avenue. Or you got 1/10 to 135th Fifth Avenue. That's all yours. You know what I mean? It's like that with comedy. You know, so as I got bigger and got busier and moving more, you know what, you take that. You know what I mean? Like perfect example, like my friend New York King Drew Frazier, how he got Manhattan proper. He got Manhattan proper because I went to LA to do something else. Boom, that torch got thrown there. Whoever came behind me when I went to LA at the Peppermint Lounge, boom, that's another torch right there. Indigo Blues, boom, another torch right there. You know what I mean? So I had all these things that I could pass on and do another thing and set up more shops. Then I come back, I got more shops. Here you go, go get more shops. And so I think that that's my success. I attribute that to what I did with the things that I've been bestowed. They say to whom much is given, much is expected, which I believe that. So if I just take it and keep it for self, that's been our problem as Black people for a long time. You know what I mean? We don't share, we don't unify. You know what I mean? We get in the corner and it's mine, yo. And if everybody do that, we don't have a community. You just have a bunch of individual pockets in a community. So I attribute the longevity and all that stuff to how I, do things and manipulate. It's come from when our generation, our parents raised us a certain way. And when you look back at it and you see all the shit your moms and pops were able to do with nothing, with the very little morsels and crumbs they had, they was fucking able to make you believe you was in the kingdom. We didn't know we was broke. The fact that if your kid know right now in 2023 you broke, you fucking up. You did something wrong. Even if you broke. You supposed to be creative enough as a parent, as a provider, to pull that shit off. My mom did, my dad did, my grandmom did, my granddad did, like my aunties, like uncles. I didn't know we was poor. I didn't know we was broke until I was an adult and looked back on it and said, damn, we ain't asked you, did we? But did you go hungry? Nah. Did you freeze to death? Nah. Did you have clothes for school? Yep. Did you eat? Yep. You know what I mean? Was you at? And a lot of times, can you imagine a lot of times? Now we talking about parents who ain't got shit, giving you everything. Even the times when you come whining because the new Jordan is coming out, or the new hat and sneakers, or Lee jeans, or the nameplates, and whatever we need, the belt buckle. What? She ain't got nothing, but they made it happen until it was your turn to make it happen.
That's definitely a fact right there. I remember Florida Evans said on Good Times, she said, we survived the meat crisis without you knowing there was no meat. You understand what I'm saying? So she said about it like, yeah, these are miracles. We have miracle workers that work with us, through us, and for us. Now, your circle or your journey into fatherhood, I want to go there because I heard some of your stand up and your commentary in regards to fatherhood, Black fatherhood. You starting off, it's almost like you hitting the stage. You see what I'm saying? You hitting the stage in another arena. Before we went live, we talked about different lives. So the fatherhood life, how did these worlds intersect? As a stand-up as hungry as you mentioned you were, and crafting a life as a Black father, young father, on the road making everything happen.
Well, I mean, actually that was my jet fuel, because at the time I decided to take it serious. I'll put it that way, because when I started comedy, I had a nice job. I didn't have no little job. I had a really nice job with no way to go but up. I was a young man at the age of 22, 21, making, salary of a 45, 50-year-old grown-ass man with a pension. So I had a good job at the 401k, everything going. And it physically, my son was in the belly. My son was about 4 or 5 months in the belly. I think 5 months. And I was at a place where physically I had to make a decision. Getting up as early as I had to make the regular job and be out in the wee hours of the night to do the comedy. After about 9, 10 months, it was kicking my ass, literally. And I was like, you know what, T, you got to make a decision. They both can't do them both, you know. And I'm one of those guys. Like, sure, I could have said, you know what, just go out on the weekend, but that's not how you build a strong comedy career. You got to really feed it. You got to feed it, just to, you know, put your all into it. And because I felt it was a calling, I thought that was the right choice. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna resign from my job. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna take whatever money I got vested in my 401k and start off with that, buy me some time, and just go full time in this comedy thing, right? So, like I told you, I had a lot of rooms I was hosting. So I did the math like that. I said, between the money I get off 401k, which I was totally wrong about, I said, and the money I'm making right now, I'm making $125 a week at 3 different rooms. So I said, okay, when I did the numbers on the rooms, I was like, with nothing else, there's my rent money. I said, I'm good because there's my rent money, right? So I do that, jump out the window, quit the job. Yeah, take my money out of 401k. Because on paper, I don't know if people notice, if you have never had a 401k, you got this word they use called vested. Oh yeah, you're 20% vested, you're 40% vested, you're 100%. So I think I was about 60, 70% vested. So on paper, the number with the amount of money they saying I got in there was crazy. So I was like, fuck it. They said, well, you know, if you take it out now, crazy penalty. I don't give a fuck. I'm thinking I'm getting this lump sum of money. Man, I think I got it there. It come down to $6,000. All those tens of thousands it looked like with penalties and everything, it was $6,000. So I looked at it like that was my rent was $1,000. So I was like, that's a 6-month cushion to get my shit together and on a normal reoccurring basis to have a living, make a living. And I quit. I had the $6,000, and lo and behold, in 3 months, my son was here. So that was the real thing. It wasn't even about the $6,000. I only got 6 months. The reality of my son was going to be here in a few months. That was the jet fuel, like really put everything into it, and it paid off because the job with everything, I was making just under $50,000 a year. My first full year comedy, I never forget, I made $83,500. No television. I ain't even on TV yet. I did nothing yet. It just was all just stage and traveling and getting gigs and bookings and hosting my rooms, and 83.5. And I remember looking at it because I was doing the taxes, and I just remember just staring at it and shaking my head like, because I was flabbergasted. Because even though I know I was working and running, I didn't put it all together until I had to put it all together. And I was like, wow. And I was like, I looked at God, I talked to God, and I said, thank you, made the right decision. And the rest was in the rearview mirror.
First year out. Man. So now let's get into the opportunities. How did you make the most of the opportunities? And it's so many. I wanted, speak to Uptown Comedy Club, Def Jam, Comedy View, things like that. Like, how did you make the most of those opportunities? And if you could give a little backstory of how you got kind of each one.
Okay, well, let's see. First television was the Clip You show. That was the first appearance on television. And the funny thing about it, coming from the projects in the hood, like the hood looked at things different. So I started in 91. And here comes Def Comedy Jam, right? So in the hood, you wasn't a comic or wasn't considered a real comic if you didn't do Def Jam. So for a long time, oh yeah, I'm a comic, I'm doing a comic. Hey, you ain't no comic, man. You been on Def Jam? I'm like, nah. Like, fuck out of it, right? That was the hood. So here comes the opportunity to do the Apollo. And even then, my hood, for lack of the few people who might have caught the episode, was still like, yeah, I heard you did the Apollo, but you ain't being professional. We ain't do Def Jam. It was always that shit, right? Monkey on the back. But that clip from the Apollo, that set was so strong. I will say this so that I can remember. Back then, you get your tape. You couldn't wait for the production people to give you a copy of the set. I made copies, and you would send those copies out to places you wanted to be booked at, to appear at. And I've never sent that tape and that clip to anybody and never not got work. Like every place I sent that clip, they always hired me off of that strong set. So that was first TV. Then I go to a Def Jam audition at Peppermint Lounge. There's about 22 comedians audition. I'm number, I don't know, 16, 17. And I tear this shit up. I have a great audition. My man Bob Sumner, shout out to Bob Sumner, was like, Bobby, do this shit. Gotcha, you good. You know? So I was like, yeah. So they, you got picked. So that was the thing, right? I got picked. We're gonna call you, so-and-so's gonna be calling you with all the particulars of that. I'm like, I'm fucking ecstatic, bro. I go back to town, mind you, after the audition, I'm still at the job. I ain't leave the job yet. So I'm like, I'm at the job. Yeah, y'all, fuck this job. I'm about to be out of here, baby. Def Jam, y'all niggas, fuck y'all. Talking all that shit. The call never comes. What the fuck? So fast forward, I see my other friends who got the call and blah, 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 the comedians, colleagues, and I see the dates of the taping and all that. And I'm down there checking the taping out, supporting my brethren, my sister. And I'm just, fuck. So, this shit's eating you up. I got to talk to Bob and Tina Graham and Bob. I'm like, yo, what happened? I said, I talk shit. I just knew I made it. Y'all told me I made it. I never got the call. And it was like, oh, man, sorry, we didn't circle back to tell you. But the problem was I had did a bit. My closing bit it had music in it. And on Def Jam, which I didn't know at the time, if you pay attention, go back and watch Def Jam, Russell was not clearing any music. The only music you would hear on Def Jam was Def Jam recordings or Kid Capri's beats. So that was the only music allowed. He wasn't trying to pay them. He was smart. That was smart. Russell was one of the geniuses, period. So Russell Simmons, Def Comedy Jam, Def Jam Records. So all the music, all the payouts for using the music go back to my other company. So I'm getting money hand over fist, whatever. Not mad at him. Great fucking businessman. But that was the reason I never got that call. So as time went on, again, putting all my work into the craft, and that I'm glad that happened in hindsight, because I would have probably been stuck in a crutch position like everybody else with music. I would have been forever a hip hop comedian, we used to call it, right? I'd have been a hip hop comedian and always, because I always came up with, I'm a hip hop dude. I grew up through hip hop, so I could come up with shit, and definitely off of songs when they're coming out. But I said, you know what? Between the mainstream comedy clubs and that incident, I got away from the music for the most part. So now I'll fuck with music on an intro or something like that, but I won't do a music-based joke like that anymore, because you can't use it on television. You can't clear it. You can't use it. Most people are not going to clear it or use it. And, it's a crutch. And I like to get away from the crutches. That's the same thing as like learning to do clean comedy. Get off the crutches. Being able to say motherfucker all the time, it's a crutch, believe it or not. Profanity is supposed to be emphasis on what you're talking about, not the actual thing. If every other word, and I tell my friends this all the time, dude, like, tone down the nigga. Everything's nigga. You can't say nigga every other word. You take the power out of the word, first of all, and don't say fuck every other word. Like, let that be the emphasis of what the point you're getting across. Otherwise, you're not getting the point across. All they're going to remember is, oh, the guy that kept saying nigga. So that bad thing happening to me, or that thing rather not happening to me, ended up being a good thing happening. And then that was Def Jam. And then when I did get the call, went back, it was perfect because I was ready. I was a little more polished. I was talking about current events. I had to joke about the Lorena Bobbitt thing. And then they asked me back another time. And then the third time they asked me back, I had just filmed Sunset Park. So I said, listen, I said, if I do it again, I don't want to do it as a spot. I need to be one. They were doing like an all-star year with different hosts. I said, I need one of those spots. And I fought for it. And Bob and powers that be fought with me. And we got it done. And I got the host episode, which ended up being probably one of my top 5 sets of all time. Like if I had to pick this, I'm glad you asked me that. Let me write down my little top 5. Because I never asked myself that. You know what I mean? My top 5 sets on television, televised sets. First top, hands down, got to be Laugh-A-Palooza. Jamie Foxx, Laugh-A-Palooza. Laugh-A-Palooza. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen it.
You seen it?
I've seen it, yes.
Yo, Laugh-A-Palooza set. That set was so good, so perfect. You can't find it right now because it's so perfect with the culture changing and people so sensitive. The whole joke about 9/11 and Bush and Saddam Hussein and Bin Laden, there, too touching. And it ain't even touching it to us, but we understand how everybody's sensitive about shit. So that took it down. I can't even find it. I'm looking for it for myself. That got to be top 5, if not the number 1. Definitely when I hosted Def Jam, I had the Tim Brown jersey on. Never forget. I tore that shit up. That's up there. The Apollo set you showed, that's there. I'm trying to think. And there's another time I did Def Jam. I want to say I had a yellow shirt on. That's in there too as well. It's crazy. And then shit, Snaps is going viral again for the 3rd time in 2 years. Like people just keep finding that and they're like, oh my God, what is this? And it just keeps picking up the steam. So millions and millions of people are now just who didn't live in that era, like new generation, are catching up to that. Oh shit, we thought Wildin' Out was original. No, nigga. No.
Exactly.
Before Wildin' Out, there was these people. There was the Uptown Comedy Club came out, and they had the Snap segment on the back. And then one of the hosts, Monteria Ivy, God bless the dead, took it further. He made I think we made 6 Snap books, a comedy album, Snaps, and then we did 2 half-hour specials on HBO.
Iconic. All of the snaps, all of the jokes, everything. Your mother's so, you know what I'm saying? Like, your mother's so stupid, it took her an hour to cook mini rice. Everybody was coming outside with the stuff. You see what I'm saying? Like, your mother's so stupid, they told her it was chilly outside. She brought out a bowl. Like, all of this stuff that was going, it was just something that we lived with. So
I like that's one of my favorite joints. You couldn't get away with it now. But it was like, he said, yo, your father's so gay. When he went missing, they put his picture on the back of Vaseline jars. Priceless. But of course, they'll march over that now.
Yeah. It's just comedy,
All day. That's the way I live by, man. Like that's my brand. It's crazy. I would tell people that's the epitome of not knowing what will catch. Like never when I said it, that was invented because of that. Again, back to the Apollo thing you showed. The guy getting booed before me made me come up with a line just to get a chuckle. And then the line was that day, and I said, I came out after that, and I said, yo, don't take it personal. It's just comedy. Like if I say you ugly and you feel that you are ugly, it's just a coincidence. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was a disclaimer created because of the situation in front of me. And then because they left it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep that as an opening, icebreaker when I do my shows. And the next thing you know, that's what people, before they even remember my name, that's what they remember. They would see me go, comedy, like that. Like people would see me, and that's how they would address me. They wouldn't know the name, right? So my name came later. It took a while. Like I used to get booked at comedy clubs, and they were like, we put it out there, nobody knows, blah, blah, blah. So it don't matter. Put me on the radio. Let me promote it. Once they hear me on the radio and I talk my ish, they're going to be like, oh, that's comedy. Because I get on there, it's just comedy and talk. That's that dude. And the place would sell out. And I remember one white club owner was like, I don't understand. I was like, I do. I'm one of those guys that you know my stuff before you know my name. So I know how to market myself and let them know it's me to sell the tickets. You know what I mean? So I had to train people. There's more than one way of doing it. Everybody's not that guy where you just go bam and they go, okay, I know. Sometimes you gotta go, oh, remember, blah, blah, blah. Like movies, same thing. We movie, but same thing. I'd be like, oh, the dude is in it. You might not know his name. Like, who? The guy from Snowfall, the lead. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Boom. Stuff like that.
Now that marketing piece, I mean, because you a mastermind in regards to marketing, it didn't dawn on me until you said you were shopping your tape, the VCR tape, the
Mhm.
VHS tape to get booked in places. When did the mastermind of your marketing, because you're a marketing genius, you see what I'm saying? Marketing genius, and you got an amazing team that works together. Like, when did all of that come together from the part that's not funny? The getting the business together and the part to get to the funny. There's a process to get to the funny and to stay in the funny. So how did all of
But I
that kind
mean,
of come
you
together?
just got to look at once you know what people are doing, it gives you a outline, a blueprint, if you will. You already got a creative part of your brain, but they give you a starting point. Like for example, in the clip you showed, that was my T-shirt, and the T-shirt said "Support Black Comedy" back then with a Superman S in the middle, and I got that because you know they were separating us when we started. Like they always do. People didn't believe in hip hop when it first started, except for the people doing it and the people listening to it. But the outsiders was like, whatever, this is bad. And they did that with comedy. So when a slew of black young comedians came along, the mainstream people was like shunning us. So people don't understand the history of comedy. Like I'm actually filming a documentary end of the year about this, but Def Jam came along, and what it did was it shifted the whole parameter situation between what they would call hip hop or black comics and mainstream and all that, because mainstream had the original blueprint, right? So they were able to ration us or ration the food to us, let us eat the way they saw fit. So back in the day, there was a thing like you go to a white comedy club and be like, hey, I want to see if I can get 5 minutes, get on. They'll look at you like we already got the black guy today. They literally would say that shit to your face. Either they'll say we don't do black guys, or we already put up a black person. You know what I'm saying? Like they looked at us so one dimensional, and we were all the same, and blah blah blah. So Def Jam ushered in an era and a slew. I mean, a slew because it was season after season and season. It changed the parameters. So now the comedy goer, for the first time, knew what they wanted to see. See, before Def Jam, you just knew you wanted to see comedy in general. Oh, it's a comedy club. Let's go in there and laugh. You didn't know, let's go see Peter Clark or whatever. So Def Jam it shifted the dynamics for us, where the comedy people who like to laugh said, I want to see that. And it wasn't yet in the club, so you couldn't see it in your traditional comedy club. That's how rooms were invented. That's when rooms started popping up everywhere. I don't care if it was in Detroit, Chicago, New York, LA, da da da. These rooms started popping up where we could see us. So that we pulled from, we start, in other words, we started fucking with their money. We pulled the money they would make into these rooms. But some of these rooms are lounges, restaurants, clubs, banquet halls, ballrooms, out backyards, whatever. But the people would pay to go see that as opposed to going into a traditional comedy club. You know what I mean? So that messed up their money. You know what I mean? So the marketing and branding part of that is you pay attention. So I knew we had that struggle on our hands and we had that uphill battle. That's why I came up with the Support Black Comedy t-shirts. So I wanted a message to be on the shirt, make a pretty cool shirt, but you're walking around with a message. Like, remember, my sister, my brother, you got a lot of us doing this thing and we need your support. They don't need to go down here to see the white-owned club that's not booking us and helping us have a career. So what happened is That went on for, it didn't take long. Half the comedy clubs in the country started to close. Business was super slow for them. So the smart ones got smart and said, we got to let these black people in. Everybody's going to see them. Let's get them in. You know what I mean? So that happened. That's also my marketing. It's like, again, just answer the question. So when I see people gravitated towards, the It's Just Comedy thing, I said, okay, let's run with that. Let's get a logo. I went to school with my boy Kev. We all did graffiti together. He was the nicest one. I said, man, give me a logo. Gave me logos. Gave me 2 or 3 different logos. I started putting them on shirts, this, that, the third. And then the only complaint I would get, from some women, dudes didn't care. It's just comedy, cool, I'm cool. But a lot of women would be like, well, we want something with your name on it. So I had to figure out my name into it so that it's at least on the shirt too, with the branding or whatever. And everything else you go from there.
Yeah, I think this relationship piece, that's the undercurrent. Because hearing you in a lot of different spaces, establishing those relationships, were game changers for you and for everybody you were able to work in tandem with collaboratively to be able to, change their lives. I think that's, remarkable. Now, the last part I wanted to deal with was what was that conversation like with Junior? After everything that you went through, blazing the trail, all of the lessons learned over the years, what was that like? And what is it like for you to see Junior out, tearing up stages and doing what he does as a triple threat?
It brings tears to my eyes, man. It's the most humbling, impressive, proud thing in my life. And I have a lot to be proud of. But my son, I think because I didn't push him to do this, I didn't even give him the notion or nothing. And for him, it's just a big wow, because when we think of genetics and shit and DNA, we don't think of shit like that. We think of, I got a mold, you got a mold. You know what I mean? I'm tall, you tall. But I don't think of DNA and genetics like that. And apparently, clearly, it does work like that. But to see him do something on his own, I think that's the most important part. It wasn't a thing dad made you do and you got good at. People do that with their kids in athletics all the time. This was something that he picked the mic up on his own. And I was on the road in a hotel bed, and he texted me a link. And it was a video. And when I seen it, first thing I'm thinking, I'm waking up, I'm just waking up, sleeping late for like 11. And I remember clicking on it because he's into music. So I thinking he's sending me a song or a video he did or that. And when I open it, and it's a familiar comedy club, Broadway comedy club in the city. And I'm like, and he's like, give it up for Talent Junior, whatever. And they bring it up, and I'm like, this guy went on stage. And I'm looking at it. And I'll be honest with you, bro. I was laughing for real. It was only about 6-7 minutes, maybe at that, but I was in the bed laughing. And then I had to look in the mirror, went in to take a shower, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I'm like, this kid is going to be really good, because not just that he made me laugh, but the timing of it. This was around the time when Dave Chappelle was making a comeback, right? So when Dave came back, it took his third special to make me laugh. The first 2 were trash. You could tell he didn't have his feet under. And he was, to me, as a comic, to me, it's just rambling. It's just rambling and talking. But I'm like, why am I not laughing? I literally didn't laugh the first 2 joints. Then when I watched the third one, motherfucker had me laughing. I'm like, there go Dave. You know what I mean? But it was at that time. So I said, damn, this kid's going to be good, because I just watched Chappelle twice and didn't laugh. Now I watched this little kid, this new jack, say some shit that made me laugh. I was like, wow. I said, he going to be good. And I was right, because now he's 4 years in. And his subject matter. And I told him this. I tell everybody. I tell him, I say, The reason you're going to be better than me is your subject matter at an early age, at an early age in comedy. I didn't get to where he's talking in these 4 years. Add on another 4 or 5 years, and then I was there. So he's more advanced than me in the beginning, and subject matter wise in comedy. And he's got nowhere. He's going to be fucking stupendous. He's going to be. It's going to be ugly. And I love him because like what I always got to remind people, because I know it's easy to assume, oh, Talon's his father, he must write for him or help him. This is all my son. This is all him. I can't take zero credit other than my DNA. I take that credit. That's it.
I love it. Normally, the shadow you have to live up to, being somebody's son, like a Michael Jordan's son, Ron James' son, or Richard Pryor's son. You see what I'm saying? Robin Harris's son. You see what I'm saying? Like there's so many spaces where you don't get a chance to carve out your own identity.
Facts.
And he found his identity very early and he lives in it. He owns it. He's like, it's just like, oh, this is my pops. It just happened to be my pops. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, and I think from you, I'm inferring, it's like it's a chance to see you again. Like watching. Oh, we grew up watching Old Dirty Bastard, seeing Young Dirty Bastard looking like Old Dirty Bastard without being Old Dirty Bastard, still being Young Dirty Bastard. It's like nostalgic.
Ain't that crazy?
To see, to see it and to hear it and to feel it, and to see it unhinged and to see it without, a lot of the stresses that was surrounded. So we didn't really get a chance to see him live. He was shouldering a lot of things. So to see his son without those burdens kind of be free and evolve, I think that's just amazing too. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Now you got some shows coming up. You always working. You always in the mix going on. So if there's anything you want to plug for that and anything else that you got coming up, I'm excited to see, your documentary and things like that. And hopefully, for people like me and people like yourself who read, we get one or two of the books from you. You see what I'm saying? Because you always read something too. That's another thing. I could always. So if you're reading something now, or you just finished reading something, if you.
Oh, absolutely. I like to give books and television recommendations and all that. But what I got coming up is, like I said, the documentary we're going to film. I'm juggling. I'm trying to get some funding to get picked up to film that as well. I'm trying to film two of the tours. One is the Cousins. Me and Ed Lover are cousins. We both do comedy. So we tour with that. The New York Kings of Comedy. Myself, Capone, Rob Stapleton, Mark Vieira. We got some Queen of Talks now. We're filming that as well for Netflix and stuff. So those are the things that we got coming up. Other than that, if you see me or my tour performing, coming to a city near you guys, come on out. Come see Talent. Come see Cousins in Comedy with Ed Lover. Come see the New York Kings of Comedy. I don't do nothing that ain't top notch. So you're gonna get the bang for your buck and your money worth. Book wise, I'm reading The Color of Law. I just finished Blood on the Garden Floor. Great book. And I just will be starting, I didn't start it yet, but The Enforcer, Charles Oakley book. I'm going to read Charles Oakley book. Blood on the Garden Floor is amazing. If you're a Knicks fan or a basketball fan, it deals with the 90s, with that tough group we had and all the trials, tribulations, and behind the scenes stuff, shit you didn't know. You're going to be like, wow, like that's a great book to read as well. TV series, man. There's an independent one. Start with that one called McGraw Avenue. McGraw Avenue is stupid dope, and it's like I said, it's an independent joint. You can watch it. I think it's on Tubi and different things like that, cinema. But it's a story about Detroit and how we were talking about gangster movies, about the drug pipeline going through Detroit, Canada and all that shit, how they move the drugs. And, it's like a Power, but more gritty and in the streets. So check out McGraw Avenue. There's a bunch of joints. I just watched Painkiller. Dope on Netflix, called Painkiller. And it's about the opioid crisis and the black lady who worked for the Attorney General's office, who busted the thing wide open, and how comparing it, her passion was based on comparing it to the crack epidemic. It was the same thing as crack, except we were, you know what I mean? They didn't look at us like victims. We were criminalized. So it's dope. I think it's like 6 or 7 episodes. It's called Painkiller on Netflix. You want to check that out, hands down. And of course, if you like movies, man, Extraction 2 is out. So Extraction 1 was dope, 2 was dope.
Right.
Check that out.
That's definitely it. Our brother, man, I'm thankful for the time that you spent with us, and it's time well spent. This is one of the hubs, one of your homes. I know you got something coming up on the 27th with a homegirl out of Philly, B Flat. She graced the stage over here. She's with us.
That's my show. I do. It's 16 years I've been doing the show with the Stress Factory, Vinny Brand Stress Factory in New Brunswick. Every last Sunday of the month, we put together a show, dope ass show for the last 16 years. Me and my man Tommy Too Smooth, my brother Power, DJ Jess. We got that on lock. We've been doing that. We've been crushing that, and the people love us, and we love the people. So 27th is our next show. B Flat is definitely gonna crush that. We're just gonna kill it like we always do. I'm a big fan of B Flat. I think she's very entertaining and one of the best female comedians we got in the game. So stressfactory.com is how you get tickets for that.
Definitely, that link will be in the description. Thank you for your time. You got any final thoughts, any words of wisdom? Because you got a bunch of them, and where people can find you to book it.
Yes, check it out. My final thoughts is, man, my brother Amir always says, look out for your people, man. Check on your people. Too many of us don't check on our people, and the next thing you know, we get that call or we get that news. But had we checked on them, maybe we could have helped intervene or solve a problem. So check on your people at all times. If they're your people, then you got to check on them, or they're not your people. You can't say they're your people and you never check on them. So check on your people. Follow your boy on Instagram, Talent the Comedian with a DA. Talent the Comedian on Instagram. On Facebook, I'm King Talent Harris. On Twitter, it's under It's Just Comedy. Find me there, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the incomparable, legendary mastermind. The mastermind's mastermind and the comedian's favorite comedian. NY King of Comedy, James Brown of the Underground. My brother, Talent Harris. Peace, y'all. We out of here.
Yeah. Welcome. Behind the Vedic veils, Sarah Bartman, Venus of Holophels, victory visits Valor Vest through Vortex, Stargate, the tarot card shows Patar face, the goddess vape while I cigar taste, priest, I'm camouflaged within the grates, I channel into stars then disperse around space, sit candles in the Mars, then the verses I create, each bar becomes a god, past times, different place, while y'all on Instagram, I microdose with 1/10 of a gram, the mics I broke with the strength of a ram, took my rights, Jim Crow said I'm only 1/5 of a man. Now you can see the whole God that I am. I consume the whole mushroom. To whom much is given, much is required. Trust your Messiah. I'm a monsoon, a typhoon, clusters of fire. Big hands reach out the jewel, clutching the writer. What's your desire? To rule. My heavy mental became an empire. With the symbol of 10 bulls, it's simple, I reign wiser. My temples are raised higher. Explain firmly. Hermes, Trismegistus, and lyrics that specialize in the pyramids and physics. It's mesmerizing for human ears to hear this. My Nebula guidance. Soon you feel this weirdness. Your blood pressure rises. You get cold as the fear grips your soul. The sheer bliss you go. Spirit from bones. This way into the vape room. Read my Vedas may make you want to take shrooms. Be free in nature. Can your nostrils take fumes? You need the gospel as you face doom. I lay in tombs and ski on vapor. The Kabbalion. 528 hertz the volume. My verse is like the universe is falling. I search. There's no human worth my calling. The whole earth, every womb, every coffin. The hermetic hookah lounge. I'm in the back, I'm not used to crowds. Sudden movements in groups too loud. I just lounge in my suit and crown. Cigars in the car, Red shoes on the towels. Wild style when I blow a cloud. Women get aroused as their attention swim around. It's written down. Pen is swung like a pendulum. My writing is psilocybin mycelium. Bicentennium. Bodies and drums to next millennium. Reptilian. Next get rung, I'm killing them. Since Da Vinci carved this demigod. Called the priest cause he knew I came from the infinite Divinity Squad. Heru, Nimrod. Firestones engraved to the Templar. Priests, I rise upon the throne where sages grew. Avenger.